6. All right, cool. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my land stream number 2. My name is Brian, aka Brybro27. I apologize for the little late start, but had to just make a quick little adjustment because today's stream is going to be a good one. Fortunately, we got Yabapmatt himself on the first half of this stream, so I'm gonna make. I don't know. We're gonna see get his thoughts directly. At first, I wanted to cover the roadmap, and I mean, there's no better person to discuss this openly with than Yaba. So here we are, Matt. If you wanted to just kind of say hey, make sure people can hear you, and kind of. I think everyone's familiar with who you are, but a quick introduction never hurts.
Hey, yeah, I'm here. Am I coming through okay?
Someone can confirm that on chat, that'd be great. Perfect.
All right, they can hear. Yeah, so I'm Yabapmatt. You can just call me Matt. Yeah, I'm now the chief product officer here at Splinterlands. So basically, figuring out what we're building, how it should work, and everything about the product. And land definitely falls under that category.
Awesome. And I kind of forgot my introduction, so I should probably do that. Like I said, I'm Brybro27. Started playing the game back in June of 2021, right before the big bust that we kind of witnessed. Excuse me. I am a part-time employee for Splinterlands. I do QA engineering for them, but don't really have any kind of insider news or anything. And that's not the whole point of this. This is purely just for land talk and from an investor standpoint. I will be clear, do have a lot of land, 2 regions, 2 tracks, 70-ish plots. So there's a reason to wonder why you should tune in on these streams and listen. Maybe land holdings is one of them. I do have to ask, Matt, do you own any land yourself?
Yeah, of course. I bought a region, but Agrod and I waited until, I guess it was maybe the second sale phase or whatever. I mean, we just wanted to wait till everyone else who wanted to get theirs had a chance to get them, and then we would come in after that. We didn't want to be one of the people who took one of the lottery spots or any of those things. So yeah, one region and a bunch of plots, seemed good enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, I bet a lot of people kind of wish they were here at that time, including myself, because seeing those prices of the pre-sale and just kind of comparing to what they are now is kind of insane. But I know Cryptomancer, he was the one that went all in. 3 regions, I believe. Kind of insane.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have tried to do that too, but, obviously we're going to benefit from land doing well and everyone else holding it. And, as the founders didn't want to try to be seen as cornering the market or anything. So, with the Waka sale also, I missed the whole thing, because I was just going to wait till everyone else got theirs, but, was able to get one afterwards on wax. So it was no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, you only had 30 seconds to even get in on that first 500.
Yeah.
Quite the fire sale. Awesome. So my plan was just to talk about the roadmap at the start. Matt, again, I know this is kind of a little last minute, but please feel free to kind of include any of your feedback, anything that you have. We'll just kind of roll from there. So I think, as everyone's know, I talked about this on my last stream, but the roadmap was released about a month ago, and the first phase isn't slated till Q3 2022. Matt, I kind of want to hear your thoughts on what you. So obviously, we here on the roadmap we see that phase 1's mainly just going to be kind of revealing where your plot is going to be located on the map, turning that claim into a deed, and then be able to buy, sell, and trade. Not trade, but transfer those deeds within Splinterlands market itself. Is that kind of a good recap? of what's all going to be included, or is there going to be kind of like little minor items that some people may not be thinking of included with that?
Um, I mean, that's the main thing that's going to be included. Uh, whether or not we're able to get in some other little things, I don't know, but we will always try. But I can only really comment on the major stuff, which is that you'll be able to redeem your claims, get your actual deeds, see all the details, type of land, rarity, resources, all that good stuff, where it is on the map, and buy and sell them, like you said.
Awesome. So that's one thing I did want to confirm. So land phase two kind of says you're revealing resources, buildings, and rarity. Then was a little confusing on whether that's the phase that we'd actually see the resource and rarity of each plot. Um, but I believe as described that land phase one would be where you do see both location, but then also rarity and kind of type of plot.
Yeah, I think looking at this roadmap now that's kind of wrong. Um, Phase two should be where you're actually building the buildings and harvesting the resources and doing all that stuff. With then like a phase three being the actual creation of the new cards and using those in the game. So I think this might be a little wrong, which is, you know, we pretty much everyone in the organization is new. So, there is definitely, some miscommunications and things that have to be cleared up to get this all right. But yeah, it's good. It's good. At least we can talk about it here. But that stuff is all planned to be part of phase one, under the assumption that we can get that in for phase one. But I think we can.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you clearing that up because I was just taking a second look at it and that's what I noticed. I'm like, I don't think that's how it was kind of pitched to us when Hardpoint revealed this map or the roadmap at the time. Because, yeah, it was kind of described as phase one would be the whole reveal process, phase two would be kind of like the first functionality phase where we can actually use the plots that we've been holding this whole time. So that's good to know. And I know roadmap, obviously, it's like official in the sense that, this is what we're actually working on, but not in terms of like, this is, final. It's going to be updated pretty periodically. So um, that's good to know. So I do want to talk. So just to get us to phase one, there's pieces that have to be kind of worked on and completed before we can even get to that phase of just the whole reveal, the map and everything. And so I think the biggest two components that have been discussed in past town halls are like the tech modernization and the non-card market. Do you want to kind of speak on like the tech modernization part and how, that affects like phase one or just land in general?
Uh, yeah, with the tech modernization, I mean, it shouldn't be something really, too noticeable to players. Generally, like the functionality of land is all going to be the same. But at this point, we do need to just upgrade how our site is built. Generally, we need to make it, so it's responsive and looks good on mobile and iPad and as well as desktop, and all that stuff. So the idea was, well, we can't really take the time to just throw out the whole site and redo the whole thing. So you kind of start with one piece at a time. And since land is going to be pretty much an entirely new thing, like separate pages within the website, we'll just start with that, with this kind of new, more modern, not matte coded uh, tech. And then that'll sort of be a blueprint to later upgrade, piece by piece, the rest of the site. So I think that'll be good. It'll hopefully be, just a better looking experience. We'll be able to do better, more graphics and animations and cool things. And it should hopefully size better automatically across different devices. It'll let us hopefully just port it to the mobile app, very easily without, building basically a whole entire separate application, all that stuff. So it is kind of, I guess, making it probably take longer than it would have otherwise, but it's important overall to get us where we want to go.
And I think one thing too, in addition to all that, is just I believe it helps us scale much kind of better. Correct?
Yeah, I mean everything, right? That's yeah, the back end of the tech modernization is all focused on scaling. The land piece specifically is more like the front end website, but the scaling piece is being done kind of for the entire game as we speak on the back end.
Got it. Yeah. So I think a lot of people kind of overlook just that whole project in general. Because I know you're probably familiar with the just constant complaints of when land, why does it keep getting pushed back and everything. And it's just the fact that, I mean, I don't think people realize how big land's going to be and kind of like the impact it is going to have on the game. In my mind, it's like completely separate game. I mean, it's going to be its own economy. So um, I, I, I don't know. I think it's going to be a part-time job, just myself for working all the land that I have. But that's what I'm looking forward to. So that's why I'm always on the boat of take as long as we need to get it right rather than release something just because people want it to be released as soon as possible. So tech
Yeah, Matt
miners,
said this. I've said it before. Like I'm annoyed more, just as much or more than anybody else. That land isn't out yet, because I just really want to have it. I want to play it. I have land. I'm super excited about it, which is why we're doing it in the first place. So um, yeah, I'm sorry. Shit happens, I guess you could say. And number one priority has to be things like keeping the game running, scaling, and the kind of plan for putting land out when it was initially released was like based on the volume and player base that we had at the time. So if we kind of went ahead with that now, it would probably, completely fall over and not work well. And we just need to we have a much bigger audience. There are much bigger, people in the space looking at this. So we just need to put a much better face forward than I think I was at least planning on when we initially launched it. But ultimately, that should be good for everyone, right? That has land, even though it's taking longer, it will be for a much bigger player base. It will be able to handle that player base, and it will, you know, look and feel like a much better, much more polished product than it would have when there was only three developers in the whole company.
yeah, I think hearing that from you is kind of what makes this whole game special. Just the fact of just the commitment and everything. Again, I think people are. I don't know. To me, it's kind of like the crypto immaturity. People are here just they hear something good, they buy it, and they expect some quick return. I don't know. I think, like I said, games it's going to be its own game in a sense that just kind of getting to that level is going to take us to that next step. And it's going to take time, but I think once we make it, everyone's going to appreciate kind of all the work that was put into it. So I do see some questions. I kind of want to read them out because I think they are good ones. So one from Crypto Man was if we have any idea at what point we'll be able to split regions and tracks. Um, so for people, real quick, just to provide quick background, I know a few people that during the pre-sale, they kind of went into buying a tractor a region as a group, and then the whole thought was to be able to split it once possible, and then they'll be just because buying the region and tract at that state was cheaper than buying those plots individually or like a tract individually. But unfortunately, right now that has not been able to be splittable. But Matt did just answer that, saying phase one is when that's expected to be
Yeah,
able to
because
be
when
split.
when you redeem the claim for your region, you will or your tract, you'll be getting 1,000 individual land plot NFTs. So then they'll be splittable, right? And there's going to be a two-part process. So you'll redeem your claim, you'll get these 1,000 NFTs, but they won't be revealed yet. So you'll know where they are on the map. You'll know where your region or tract is on the map, and you'll have all these NFTs that have no information other than a location. So then you'll also be able to split them up fairly for pools, right? You'll be able to send, one tract to one person, a couple plots to another person, whatever, however you want to split it up. And then all the players can reveal what they got and see if it's legendary, if it has resources, what land type it is, all that stuff. So I always try to make things like out to how they would be in real life. So like you have these claims, which is sort of just a contract with like the exploration companies, and then they're going to say, all right, we went and explored, and this area here is yours, right? We don't remember, we don't have all the details about what's on it, but we just have, this area here is an area that is available. This is yours. You can go look at it whenever you're ready, right? And so then you can split that up however you want, and then you reveal it, um, and then you'll see all the details.
Do you think will there be a reverse process potentially? So say you have 100 deeds or plot deeds that make up a tract, but you split those out into individual plots. Do you foresee a way to make that a tract so you can say sell it or something all as one, or is everything just going to be basically a plot in the end?
Well, everything's definitely going to be a plot. I mean, I guess the question is whether the market, the non-card market, is going to allow like groups of things to be sold together. And the answer is I don't know for like phase one of that. So I'll have to check with, I know that's not like the MVP thing, but uh, I don't see why in the future we wouldn't allow that. And also with current cards right now, should you be able to group, hey, I want to sell an entire set of Chaos Legion cards together in one transaction. That's something I'd like to allow also.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just thinking more so. I think another big question is like, so what are the benefits going to be if you keep a whole track together or like a whole region together? I know in the past it's kind of been teased that there may be kind of land travel introduced in the game, where in order to get to one plot to another, you're going to actually have to travel to it, and having like a whole tract or region together will speed up that process. Any thoughts on that, or is this kind of more pure speculation? I don't imagine that's going to be for a later phase, but I think that's good to know for those who, once you can split a tract or region, what the right call is if there is going to be any benefits in the future for keeping it together.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about our thoughts on it, but everyone has to be aware, like, this stuff hasn't all been designed out. And honestly, you can't really design this stuff out until you're actually building it, because otherwise you're going to design it all out and then you start building it and then you're going to run into things you didn't expect and you're going to have to go back and change the designs anyway, or you're going to be locked into designs and then have to like kind of work around sort of bad designs if you've kind of promised things. So, which is an issue we've fallen into in the past. So, and we were kind of clear on that for people who bought land already. Is a lot of these things are TBD, and you're taking that risk, I guess, or you're going into it with that expectation. But the way I generally envision it is that I would preferably want my land to be as together as possible. And again, like I always try to look at these things as more like real life things. Like if you were a real life landowner, would you want to have a little bit of land in New York and a little bit in Germany and a little bit in Japan, or would you want, a bigger area in one of those places, right? Which would be easier to manage, which would just like make more sense. And I know obviously this is digital, so but it's digital trying to sort of represent a real world situation and a real world economy, plus like cool magic stuff on top of it. So I always look at things from that perspective. So, I definitely, um, we want to have some things where there's like travel involved, but we also want to 100% make sure that like nobody's ever annoyed that they're in some location versus another location, where like we don't ever want it to be a situation where like one location's better than another on the map. So they're all kind of equal. And I just look at it as you kind of want everything to be together. It just gives you better, you know, easier management, better potential economies of scale, and movement of things at some point when we get to that.
Sure. So to keep it together, I think Nate teased it or kind of talked about it just very briefly in the past in terms of if you reveal all your plots together, then they should kind of be located within the same uh, location on the map. Um, Do you think that will kind of still exist? So people say, like, for instance, I have two regions. If I reveal them together, am I guaranteed that they will be next to each other? Or is there
Yeah.
going to.
So again, this is the plan, subject to change. But
Yep.
the plan for the reveal process is just that we'll have the map laid out. There'll be all the regions, and they'll just be numbered 1 through 150. Um, and it'll just start at region one. And let's say if someone redeems 10 plots, it'll just go grab the first 10 plots all together and give it to them, right? So then if someone comes and claims a whole region, obviously region one is no longer available, so it'll just grab them the whole next available region, which would be region two at this point. So if you claim multiple regions simultaneously, it'll be like one transaction. You can say I want to redeem 2 regions in a single transaction. Then it'll just grab the next 2 adjacent regions and give them to you. So if you do want to split them up, you could just redeem one region and then wait a little while for a bunch of other things to be claimed, and then redeem your second one, and then they'll be further apart. So you can kind of do it any way you want, and but that's kind of the plan. So I'm sure everyone's going to have all their different ideas of when they want to claim, but we want to make it clear there's going to be no benefit to being in region one. It just happens to be the random one that's first. It'd be exactly the same as being in region 103 or 76, or any of that.
Sure. Yeah, good point. I apologize in advance. I am trying to kind of asking the questions that have been lingering that I know a lot of people have been kind of waiting for, not waiting for answers, but waiting to see, how it may be implemented. So I think it's one thing, though, to hear directly from you, Matt, just because it all makes sense. Again, we can't expect this to be final currently, but I mean, I think it'll be pretty close to it, and it just helps us prepare a little bit more for what to expect come Q3. Just want to ask a few questions from the chat real quick. Again, from Crypto Man, will each plot you have be shown on in the in-game map, or is it just going to be a visual representation of the overall landmass?
Yeah, it's going to be so. There's going to be like a high level map where you see the whole thing, you see the regions and all the other different areas in the map, and then you'll be able to click on a region and drill into it and see it, in more detail, divided up into the tracks, and see each individual plot. Um, and then you'll be able to click on an individual plot and drill into that. So you'll be able to see exactly where each of your plots are on the map within the region. Which ones have the keeps and the castles and which land type and everything. So
Do you foresee us being able to tell who owns what plot, what region? Any type of distinguish between that?
yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll have some filters on the map, to easily highlight the ones you own. I think if you like mouse over any plot or any region, you'll be able to see information about it. Owner. I think we want to have regions be able to be named. So if one person owns an entire region or the majority of it, they can just pick a name. Otherwise, maybe there could be some like voting thing or something like that. Not sure if that'll be phase one, but that'll be cool. And then obviously we would have to have the ability to remove any inappropriate names. But other than
Yeah.
that, anything goes.
Yeah, that gets a little tricky. I mean, thankfully there's only 150 regions. I don't think it'll be that hard to kind of see any of the inappropriate ones, but can't underestimate people, unfortunately. With that being said, though, I did want to ask you. So one thing I wanted to talk, which I'll probably push it off to my next stream, are titles and how they may benefit or give off land utility. On the very first post, when titles were first released, it says, that utility isn't going to be released until land expansion is actually implemented and released. I guess just pure thoughts on, again, not final, but do you have any idea of what type of land utility that may present for anyone that is currently holding a title?
Yeah, I mean, I expect it'll be something, potentially some type of increased yields or some type of benefit on the plots. How much resources they generate, stuff like that. So it's obviously this whole thing is brand new and starting from scratch. So, but that's definitely one of the things that we're gonna be putting in there that like titles will have an effect.
Got it. One thing I always kind of wanted like to toss around was that titles would potentially be able to be like assigned to a keep or a castle. And then like keeps and castles are going to have an effect on like the whole tract or the whole region. I always thought maybe a title would be able to not only kind of name it and change the display of that keeper castle, but then have that increase to the effect potentially or not. But again, that's just my thought. What I think would be cool.
Or potentially multiple titles even to the same keeper castle, like it's like multiple sort of land barons, coming together type of thing.
Exactly. I think that'd be awesome because I know there's probably a lot of people that do have maybe more titles than keeps or castles. So that'd be kind of cool. I was looking at numbers for titles, and I know there's under 100 for Untamed. There's a few the Praetorial ones. I'm not sure how many Explore. I think there's just 100 of those. But like the Legionnaire, for instance, the most recent one, there's around 600 of those. So it'll be interesting. And that's one thing I think a lot of people kind of forget that those are going to provide land utility. Um, Again, it's hard to say what that's going to be and what the value is, but I just want people to know don't forget about those because not only are they cool like aesthetic currently, I think integrating that into land's going to be pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, they fit really well, obviously, with land. Landowners typically is where titles came from. So,
Absolutely. I got a question here in chat from Danger Bald. Do you envision any buildings that do not generate cards being possible to build, like arenas, shipyards, theaters, taverns?
well, I mean, the majority of the buildings will be resource generation buildings. Um, and then you'll use those resources in other buildings that will create the cards. So, I guess I would say most of the buildings don't directly create the cards, but are for mining and harvesting the resources. But then, yeah, I think we're probably going to expand to other types of buildings in the future, but not for the first like few phases.
Yeah, I think it was kind of talked in the Discord channel of potentially being able to have like an arena and host like your very own tournament where all the mages and summoners and all of them would have to travel to your
Yeah.
arena and to be able to fight and just kind of I think it goes to Nate's point of trying to engulf um, players more into just like the background and lore of things and just make it more of just a game where you click cards and battle, like you're kind of more summoned into the arena and just get that whole kind of energy and everything. So
I think we probably like add that in addition. So I think our thoughts were that the plots were something like 10 acres or more in like a real life mapping of it. So, in theory, initially our plan is like one building per plot. And that would be like resource generation or a card, factory type building. But then in the future, if we add new types of buildings, you could potentially add it on a plot that already, is harvesting wood or grain or something like that. So you don't have to be like, oh no, I spent all this resources and time and energy building these buildings, and now I don't have any place to build these new buildings. Like we don't want anyone to be in that situation.
yeah, I think that's interesting. I guess so. How many like expansions do you foresee there's going to be? In my mind, it sounds like land we can continue kind of building on top of it for years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's like asking how many expansions are going to be for Splinterlands cards. Just anytime we come up with more new stuff, we'll just add it onto the list.
And I think the craziest part about that fact is that anything that's being produced by land is going purely to the landholders, not the actual Splinterlands team. Um, which that's crazy. So you guys are kind of building on top of a game that's not really rewarding you guys directly. In a
Well, I
way,
guess
it is, but
yeah. I mean that's ultimately really kind of the whole idea of Web3 and blockchain and crypto, right? So if we all rising tide lifts all ships is what I was trying to say. So definitely a lot of value from land. A lot of the things you can do and buy are going to go into the SPS token and the DAO, right? And just in general, like the more successful land is, there's going to be more, hopefully, market sales and higher dollar value sales, and there's totems and there's all kinds of new things that there's going to be. And like Splinterlands does get market sale commissions, so we just want more players, more activity, more money coming into the ecosystem, and that's going to help. That's going to help the business as well as all the players and asset owners.
Awesome. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, I've been holding my land for gonna be like 8 months now. Have not sold. I did sell a tract, but I bought it back, and that's just the whole point. Is I think it's the value is going to be insane compared to what the whole speculation is right now. Um, and again, I just think it's being overlooked. I think a lot of people are kind of just impatient right now. I think that's their problem because they're really going to regret any selling that they do currently compared to once we get to these phases, it's going to be a whole new game. So
We're in a lull now, right? We've been in a lull before, so there's that history to look back on. But if you weren't here for that, it's not as, even if you look at it, it's not as fresh as for the people who went through that and saw the result. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know that we'll come out of the lull and everything's going to be really good, but I mean, I expect that we will. And that, yeah, but everyone can do what they want to do. That a lot of people like threaten, that, oh, if you guys don't do this or fix this, I'm going to sell all my stuff. I'm like, I don't see that as a threat. I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point of this. You can do that, right? And you should, if that's what you want to do. But I always say, like, we're going to be working our hardest to make that a bad decision.
yeah, and I love the people that think that they know the answer, even though they're not the ones that running the game and getting it to the point that it is now. So I will say too, just real quick, while we're looking at the roadmap, I think every project that's right before land phase is just going to kind of keep building up to that point. So I know ranked rewards we're getting close to, I think, getting ready to start not only testing it but preparing for the actual release.
Yeah.
Modern Wild's right around the corner as well. I'm pretty sure like immediately following, not immediately. I don't want people to take that and spin those words, but pretty shortly after that release. And I know SPS validators, that's coming up as well. But just the fact that those three big old projects are, right around the corner, I think it's pretty awesome because it just shows that the team's getting everything kind of under their belt right now and churning in this code to produce some pretty crazy things. So I can't imagine just what those land phases are going to look like when that time comes.
Yeah, I mean, we've been telling people for a while, as we've been building up this bigger and bigger team, it's going to take a while to get everyone up to speed and get things running smoothly with like all these new people. But then once that happens, then all of a sudden it's going to be just like this, tidal wave of stuff getting released, because we have all these teams working on it in parallel. And I think that is going to start like this month with ranked rewards, the validator nodes, license sale, wild versus modern, or like this month, next month. It's like that's just going to start. There's just all these big things are going to start hitting.
Yep. Can't wait. Looking forward to that. So I will say, so my plan for the stream was to have Neal on the second half, Neal Mc Spadden. It's kind of crazy to have both Matt and Neal on one stream. So kicking off to pretty big names right off the bat. So I will say, if anyone has some like last questions, feel free to ask them. You can always ask them on the second half as well. I believe, Matt, you'll probably stay in chat and answer questions as you see them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll answer a few questions. I was going to also jump over to Bulldog's stream. I want to be an equal opportunity, founder.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and if you guys aren't familiar, Bulldog does the Learn to Play with Bulldog. That's what Hardpoint and Chatter started a few months ago, where they just start from a fresh account, Bronze League, and they kind of just stream how they progress through through the stream. So definitely take a look at that. Again, this stream is just kind of more of like a pure resource for landholders. Not so much if you're interested about buying land and whatnot. It's just more of I think once we start getting these details of how land's actually going to work, how the reveal's going to work, all that stuff. I kind of want to talk through that just so everyone's on the same page. And in my mind, I think we're all on the same team here. I'm not trying to, capitalize on any part of land just for myself. I think we're all going to be benefiting from it. So might as well share that together and everyone gets rewarded. So that's the whole plan there. So yeah, so I appreciate you coming on, Matt. I will say if you have any last minute just thoughts or anything you want to kind of tell people, I'd say now's the time.
I don't know. I mean, I've been saying it on the town halls and everything. I think things are in a lull right now. That's just what happens with any markets. Things go up, things go down. I can't guarantee anything that's going to happen, but you can just look at the past as a potential guide and know that as a company, we've grown incredibly and we're building much more and much better now than we have ever done. So I'm just super excited for that.
As so are we. Awesome. Well, thanks, Matt. Definitely won't be the last time. I think, hopefully, not the last time that we have you on here. I think everyone appreciates hearing from you directly. It's always a pleasure. So, again, yeah, thank you very much. I think we're all excited for land and how we're going to utilize it. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll hop on whenever I can.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
See ya.
All right. So, like I mentioned, I will just be clear that was not really wasn't really expecting that right off the bat in terms of having Matt on. Kind of like a little last minute guest appearance, but I can't say that I can never say no to Matt. I mean, hearing just Matt talk directly is just, like I said, it's a pleasure. So, second half of this is going to be talking with Neal Mc Spadden. Neal is an OG, so I think a lot of you should be familiar with him. If you're not, then you should get familiar with him because, yeah, I mean it's Neal. You gotta listen to him directly. So, Neal, you want to say something just to make sure audio comes through perfectly?
Hey everybody, can you hear me? There's always a delay on the streams.
Yeah, I
Is it
know.
working?
Well, haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah,
There we go. All
sounds
right, nice delay.
all right.
Awesome. All right, Neal, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I am Neal. I am a day one OG, as I like to say. Got involved with Splinterlands. Back then it was Steam Monsters, and there were these posts that people were all excited about, saying, we're going to have this game on the blockchain. It's going to be packs and cards, and we don't know what the game's going to be, but it's going to have it's going to be cool. And so I started buying a little bit. I actually never was involved in trading card games before. I was familiar that Magic existed. I knew that Hearthstone existed, but I never played any of them. And but I was into the whole Web3 thing. So I bought a couple, and I bought a couple more, and I bought a few more, and got involved in the markets. There was a really active Discord market back then, before the official in-game markets existed, and yeah, just kind of snowballed from there. And turn around, a few years later, and as far as I'm still aware, I'm still the largest asset holder outside of Yabba and Aggro. I don't count them because they're insiders. So
Yeah, I wouldn't count them either.
yeah, so yeah, I jumped on lands. I was actually, so for those who weren't around at the time, the way the first pre-sale went, there were three phases of pre-sale and then a full retail sale for land. In the first pre-sale, you had to put down like basically a deposit, and then they had a lottery of who would get their order fulfilled. And I was the first person to put down a deposit for a region, and then I didn't win the lottery. And so the way they made it up to all those people, there were a number, was that okay? So we missed out on the first pre-sale, which was the cheapest price. We were guaranteed a slot in the second pre-sale, which was about 20% more expensive, and we also got a legendary totem. So I managed to get in on that, and yeah, I'm super bullish on land just in general, and I mean we can go into reasons why, but I'm totally in.
Yeah, if you want to clarify, so what does your land holdings look like?
Actually, slightly less than yours. I've got 2 regions, 1 tract, and 60 plots, something like that.
All
69
right.
plots. So I'm about 1 tract behind you.
Awesome. Well, I'll take that. I don't like to brag, but that's one thing I can say. I have more than Neal himself. I can't say that for anything else. That's awesome. One thing I'll just clarify too. I am new to this whole stream, so I apologize. Kind of wish I could share my screen while having Neal on as well, but wasn't set up for that. Because I am curious on the whole land pre-sale because that was before my time, and like I said, when Matt was on. I'm sure all of us wish we could go back in time and get in on that. Because like you were saying, that very first like phase of the pre-sale, that was literally 50% off of what the prices were sold for once that post pre-sale happened.
Right.
So if you're not familiar, that means a region was only 7,500.
Yep.
Tract was 850, and a plot price was $10.
Yep.
That's insane. So then you were saying when you got in, you got it on that second sale. Looks like it was 40% of a discount. So
Hmm.
9,000 for a region, 1020 for a tract, and $12 for a plot.
Yep.
That's crazy, especially just even comparing prices right now. Plus, you got a legendary totem. I know we haven't really talked about totems too much, but I mean, legendaries are kind of insane in value. Not, I wouldn't say as value just because there's not really much of a market behind it currently.
Hmm.
But I think there's only 222 legendary totems currently minted and released. I think the second half is to be released once the land is actually live. But again, I mean that's scarce and it's going to definitely benefit. So yeah, I will say. So are you actively buying more land? Are you waiting? What's your goals there?
Yeah. So I bought a tract a couple months ago. I got a good price from somebody who was just looking to exit, and every now and then I'll pick up another plot. The Just kind of depends on what I have liquid. Lately, I've just been taking my SPS and stacking into the DEC pool, so, for the airdrop. But we're seeing the prices of plots come down a bit, so they're starting to get pretty attractive.
Mhm.
Um, I might be nibbling here and there.
Yeah, so one thing I do like to clarify, like my land holding, and I was just curious on yours too, because um, the whole point of this stream is to kind of get different perspectives, and I do plan on getting multiple guests on every stream. And I want to get different land holdings, people with different land holdings on, so they can view those different perspectives. So like us, kind of sitting at the top with a lot of land, like it's going to be very different from those who have like 10 plots.
Right.
But I think it's very critical to kind of understand what we're looking at, because again, I don't think either one of us is looking to kind of keep our strategies in secret, just because it's I think we have more than enough to kind of reap the rewards and play the game. So I think it'll be interesting. And yeah, myself, I actually have not bought a plot since my last stream. I always threw around I wanted to put like a counter so you could kind of see how many plots I bought in between streams. But I kind of agree with you. I think the floor is still kind of coming down. I'm kind of just watching it. I think the card sales currently are a little bit more attractive because card prices are kind of falling a decent amount, and I think that's one of like the areas that I need to work on for preparing for land. So transitioning into that, do you have any kind of preparations that you're currently doing, or are you kind of waiting until we get a little bit more details on what's going to be needed per plot in terms of, workers or even DEC for building stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm definitely eagerly awaiting any kind of details we get there. My general feeling is that um, if anybody's familiar with my streams, they know that I'm much more on the investment side. So, I rent out almost all my cards. I imagine I'll be renting out land plots and then taking the earnings and taking a portion, reinvesting, building up all the resource buildings and whatever else we need to do. Um, so nothing definite yet, but I am just looking at figuring out the cash flow piece and then building up the assets over time. Because it's going to be whatever the numbers end up being. It's going to be an enormous amount to if you have more than one really. It's going to be an enormous amount of resources that you need in order to maximize that. And it's just like with the. I think my speculation is that it's going to be similar to the guild buildings in that you're going to have different levels of things, and it's going to get more and more expensive as you go up.
Hmm.
Because that's sort of their approach to everything. Card levels and guild
Yep.
buildings and all that kind of stuff. So figuring out what the sweet spot is there as far as investment required versus returns you get and all that kind of stuff is going to be an interesting exercise to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's yeah, I think I'll be curious to kind of listen to these conversations right now in terms of what preparations people, think are the best currently, and then compare it, a month or two down the road once we kind of learn a little bit more on what's going to be needed. So in my mind, I don't think there's anything that you could be doing wrong with doing any type of preparation right now. So whether that is buying cards and summoners to work the lands, whether it's buying more plots, I've stayed away from totems myself just because they just don't seem to be. They haven't kind of fell in price compared to like plots in general. So it hasn't been as attractive. But I think one thing to kind of remember too is DEC is going to be required for buildings, for instance. So it'll be curious to see how many people kind of jump off the DEC holdings once the airdrop, SPS airdrop stops, and then once we get the land, and it's just like, oh wait, I need all that DEC back. I should have kind of saved it. So it's a mixed bag. I'm not even sure what I'm gonna do, but I'm hoping to kind of talk that out with more people as we go down the road and see what happens, see what different people are looking forward to. So I will say, we got a question here from Crypto Game Dad, which I think you're the perfect person to ask this. So what do you think the ROI will be for a plot?
Yeah, so ROI is an interesting question. The I stands for investment, return on investment. So it's going to highly depend on how much you pay. What what I think a better measurement will be the current APR, where you have whatever the market value of the plot is at that point, and then the yield it generates in whatever it is, Sparkstone or spells and whatever else the end products actually are. So, I mean, if you look across the DeFi space, and make no mistake, if you're in Splinterlands, you're in DeFi. Um, I would guess somewhere in the you know 15 to 30% rate at those then future prices. Um, where that means from now, you know I am of the opinion that once lands are functional, we are going to see a massive boom in marketability and asset value. So if anybody was paying attention to the other side, other deeds NFT sale that went on a couple days ago, I mean, just for whatever reason, people love the idea of virtual land. I think there's a lot of just kind of latent desire of people to like own property, and it kind of translates into the virtual space as well. So I tend to think that once everything's functional, we'll see basically like a 10x increase in prices at that point. Um, so if you're investing now, then that 20% turns into 200% if we get a 10x in between here and there.
Hmm.
If you bought at the pre-sale or retail prices when they were released, I mean we've already gone 10x, so it'll be 2,000% ROI. Uh, Please repeat. My joyful giggling got too loud after you said massive. Yeah, so I am of the belief that uh, we'll see a 10x from when lands go live. Now, obviously, that is not a guarantee. I could certainly be wrong. I'm not anybody's financial advisor, but just my gut feeling on watching lands in all other ecosystems. I will say there's a caveat with that, in that I think it's critical that we have the Ethereum bridge up and functioning for land deeds. Um, for those of you guys who are, I guess, newer than 2 years old in Splinterlands, the there is an Ethereum bridge for cards. It was turned off when Ethereum went nuts and gas fees became ridiculous. So there is an OpenSea collection for Splinterlands, and there were some card auctions originally trying to generate some buzz and popularity. And then that never really went anywhere. Gas fees made it impractical, and a year later, we got SPS, and that blew up the entire game. So I think uh, porting assets to Ethereum nowadays is going to be much more viable than it was back then, because we have cards that cost $10,000, and I think the land plots are going to be in that workable range to pay the Ethereum fee. But that's where the biggest community of gaming asset buyers are.
Yeah, and I think you referenced it before. What was that most recent land sale? It was like the Bored Apes, I believe, on Ethereum.
Yeah, it's related to Bored Apes. It's other side. I think is the actual name of it.
Got it. And how much? What? So not only did it, I think, break Ethereum, but
Yeah.
how much did it raise? I thought it was like 320 million just from that sell.
Well, I'm actually bringing up OpenSea right here. It did break Ethereum. People were paying like 5 ETH to just for gas, which is crazy.
Unreal.
So far in the last, I don't know, week, 231,000 ETH in volume transactions have been made for other deeds. Other deed for other side is the full name. So in dollar terms, if we just take times, I don't know, 2,800, so that's like $650 million of transactions. So I don't think Splinterlands will do those kind of numbers because they're latching onto the Bored Apes IP that's already very strong in the ETH ecosystem. But I think it's an indication of like direction. So the appetite is there for land type things.
Yeah, I think to sum it up, I think big money's in Ethereum.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to, kind of, I don't know, have those prices be a little stable or reach those levels, and that definitely seems like a jump we need to make. And I mean, as Matt and Aggie have said, they always want to integrate in as many chains as possible. I think Ethereum, I think the bridge is currently working right now. I
Oh yeah.
just, I think I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at it, but I think just with like the inconsistency and the gas fees, it's kind of a little and not stable, and people don't really use it. But it'll be interesting to see, how they kind of populate that. I think, especially maybe once they get to the non-card market, maybe we'll see something then. Not sure, but I think that's an interesting take. I'm with you. I mean, just to be clear, so have you sold any land since the pre-sale?
I've never sold a single piece.
All right, so that's why I love asking about not only land holdings but then that question, because it just goes to show. So we from the pre-sale when you bought in at like $10 a plot, during the big boom, plots got up to $800. I mean that could have been easy big money right there for you, and just
Yep.
the fact that a lot of people that I know too, kind of like your big holders, didn't sell a thing.
Mhm.
So for anyone that's kind of, still wondering, is land going to be worth it right now? Like even at these insanely low prices, which I say low just because, again, I mean, I never really thought land would drop this much. Again, I think it's just from people being impatient. Um, but
Yeah, well,
in terms of value, I think we're a long way from where it will be once we kind of get the. I don't think it's going to be once we can use land. I think once we start hearing those concrete details of how it's going to work, I think that's when we're going to see a little bit more hype and see kind of the price go up a little bit instead of just that constant downtrend.
yeah, you may be right there. You know, I Matt Clark and I talk a little bit from time to time about land, and he also owns two regions, and I recently got ahead of him with that extra tract. So um, but he's made the comment similarly that all the top holders. So there's us, there's Matt Clark, the Cryptomancer. It kills me a little bit inside that Cryptomancer has one more region than I do.
Same.
Um, but if anybody's selling a region cheap, I might be interested. But all the people who have lots of land all wish they had more because I think we see the long term potential of lands and how it's going to be. I mean, it'll be literally a game changer because it's going to change the whole structure of the game and this whole new way of playing Splinterlands. So so yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
yeah, and I think one thing too is Matt and Aggie are kind of expecting our player base to increase 10 times. Um, I'm not going to say when because there's no telling when that's going to happen. But just with the whole roadmap that I was talking with Matt earlier today, I mean, I think every single one of those projects are being worked on because they believe that's the future of the game. That's what's going to attract players, and it's going to keep all the players that we currently have. So I mean, it's easy to say like, "Hey, land's not going to be released anytime soon." Like, this is. I just want it out right now. I just think once we get to that point, it'll be very interesting to see where the game is, what state it's currently in. How many players we have at the time, and that's just again always it's going to directly affect the value of plots pretty directly right there. Because I remember once we were going through the SPS boom, it was just constant talk about there's not enough land for each player. I think
Yeah,
that's still
that's
true right now.
absolutely. So we have 400,000 daily actives. That's kind of like a ballpark average. There's 150,000 plots. Each plot, like Matt was saying earlier, not every plot's going to be producing a card. It's resource gathering and everything.
Hmm.
So I mean, I've done some kind of envelope math where it's like, okay, if we figure that there's three plots needed to produce a thing, um, or a bundle of things, items and spells, then that cuts down the amount of actual productive items to 50,000 already. And you know, if you want to compete for rewards, you're going to need every little advantage you can get. So if you don't have any items and spells, and you come up with somebody who does, you're probably going to lose. So the incentive there is for everybody to using items and spells in their playing decks. So and chances are we don't know the specifics, but chances are there's going to be different effects for different items and different spells. So you're going to need not just one. You're going to need a deck of items and spells to complement your card deck.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be enough for everybody. Agrod's phrase of please push and shove is going to apply. But
Yeah.
the people who are holding lands, I mean, they're pretty strong holders. So there's not going to be that much liquidity available for people to buy in.
Yep. Well, and I will say, so first, people always, in my mind, I think my motto is you can never own enough land. So when people ask, why I keep buying land, that's my reason. Uh, right now is a perfect time to buy, and there's no better time once, before any of the details are even released, because I can't imagine what prices are going to be, down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting. I think you kind of touched on just the whole fact that there's going to be so many different pieces mixed in into like how items, cards, spells will work, all the different resources that go into that. I mean, totems in itself are kind of like an example of that, where uh, each totem's going to have like a very unique effect, or like a specific use case that will generate that effect. And again, there's not a lot of concrete detail on how that's going to be, but they kind of teased it that, like a totem may be very specific to like a certain resource or a certain type of land plot. And so if you don't own that, then that totem's not, I wouldn't say a waste, but it's like a good opportunity to potentially trade it or sell it for something that you can directly use. So even with all that 150,000 plots, like you're going into, I mean, you're going to need a huge kind of like a pretty decent combination of plots just to even potentially generate like a certain spell item, and that's all that we still gotta kind of wait for. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's if I remember right, there's 14 different types of plot,
yep,
and then there's going to be 6 different resources. Um, so already that's like what 84 different combinations of things, and then there's the rarities. If they're they had different names, but they're going to be roughly common, rare, epic, and legendary. Um, so yeah, there's going to be even with 150,000, there's going to be a huge variety of specific attributes for each individual plot.
yeah. And last thing too, don't forget the essences on occupied lands as well.
Mhm.
um, So yeah, it's gonna be crazy. One thing, so you mentioned you talk with Matt Clark, and I know teased it in the past. When's that two castle or more Discord channel gonna pop up?
Yeah, I don't know. We need some elite access kind of stuff. I like the idea of I didn't mention about titles. I like the idea of like so if you own one plot, that would make you a landowner, and then if you own a tract, that'd make you something like a baron. If
Mhm.
you own a region, it'd be a duke. Then if you own more than one region, you'd be an archduke. So I think we need something for the archdukes and up.
Yeah, I agree. I do think too that we should have a map channel for land specifically. I know right
Mhm.
now the current map status is only for card packs.
Yep.
I think it'd be kind of interesting to get kind of the same thing for land. And again, it'll just kind of be like what this whole stream's about. Talk strategy, what people are doing, what they foresee. So we'll see. I may be able to pull a few strings for that later down the road. But I'll keep it on my radar.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So I know we're getting a little close to kind of the end. I did want to ask kind of, so not only closing thoughts, but before that, just what are you most excited for land and when it gets released?
Oh man, I'm just excited for the reveal. We've been waiting so long. So pre-sale started in November, December 2020. I really thought we were going to get something by Christmas of 21, and now they're saying Q3 of 22. So fingers crossed that we will get at least the map and all those detail reveals in the second half of the summer here. That's going to be the most exciting thing for me, just to realize this whole long waiting period that we've been through.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll touch on that though too. So just from kind of seeing what's being worked on and being able to test that internally, I don't think Q3 is going to be an issue. Again, that's speculation, can't guarantee anything, but just the way the team's working right now, I think you're going to see a lot of progress, a lot of releases coming up, and that's just going to open the door for land to be that next step and getting the whole team to work on it. Again, they keep saying land is being worked on. It is. Again, you just gotta kind of remind, or just remember like what is all going to go into it. Just like the map in general, having to dive into the map in terms of like a region, the tracks in that region, all the plots. I mean, that's just a ton of like assets in general that need to be created, visualized, and just implemented. So it's a pretty big lift, but again, I think we all know it's going to be worth the wait. So just a matter of time. I'm sure once we get to that point, it's just going to be all talk about how glad we are that we waited. So it'll be crazy. So awesome. If anyone has any last minute questions, again, I like to kind of be engaged with the audience. This is more for everyone, not just us to talk and say how much we love land, but feel free to ask them. I will also, while we kind of take the time, if you liked hearing from Neal, definitely check out his Mav stream. Again, if you're more interested, not even just more interested, but if you want to hear that whole investor kind of perspective and point of view, I mean, definitely discuss a lot of cool things with just the state of the game and all that. So I will get this recording out on YouTube and I'll post those links. So I'll post a link to that, your YouTube channel, just so people have that. One thing too, I'll try to get a little bit better overlays and visuals. Right now, if you're looking, we are on a common tundra. Honestly, I don't really have too many resources in terms of these kind of sneak peeks into what the different land types and resources are going to look like. This just kind of happened to fit the bill for now. I think it'll be cool to get an actual picture of Pretoria and how that's going to look. I know we had a teaser before of what that's going to look like in all different regions, but even that's not official. So hopefully down the road, get a little bit more better visuals, and it's not just going to be looking at our beautiful faces. It's going to be more just looking at the awesome background. So we'll see. But yeah, Neal, got any questions for me?
Well, yeah. I mean, so you've got a significant chunk of land. What are you planning on holding forever, or are you going to be looking for a good opportunity to sell if we get a nice market rise, or is it going to be sell some, keep some kind of thing?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I kind of ask myself that every day too, because I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. So I did hold pretty strong during our big boom. I did sell one tract, and that allowed me to kind of get all the money I've invested in, get all that back. And now I'm kind of on just money that it doesn't really matter if I lose it. I'm not like in debt or anything. We're equalized now, but that did allow me to buy my tract back. I don't foresee myself selling anytime soon, especially, I mean, we have phase two, which is going to be like land functionality early next year. There's just no way I'm going to sell anything like once that's released. I mean, that's the whole point we've been holding our lands for, is just for that moment. So I think we're going to see kind of another big boom then, and it's just going to be a lot of hype on actually using it, renting it out, and whatnot. Like talked about with Matt earlier, just about like future expansions and phases and what the different like opportunities are. I mean, I don't know. I think land, like we mentioned, it's going to change the game. And that's what's really going to attract people. It's going to turn Splinterlands not into just a card game. You're just battling people. I think it's going to be more building like a backstory and diving into land and how that affects how you battle people, who you battle, stuff like that. So I don't know. I can't answer specifically. I mean, I'm not going to say I won't sell anything like next year or so, but I think I'm just right now. I'm definitely going to keep accumulating. That's my goal. Like I said, I do want to have like a tracker on all my streams just to see how much I bought in between each stream, and just see if anyone's with me. It's a little easier at our side because I don't know. I think I kind of want to shuffle some SPS around once we get to closer to the end of airdrop, but um, we'll see. Nothing's final, but definitely just not going to be selling. I think anytime soon, at least.
Yeah, when we had the large region sale, it was, I forget the exact number. It was 700,000 something on wax, and I made the mistake of telling my wife about it, and I was like, I have two of these. And her immediate response is, "Well, why didn't you sell?" Uh, and my answer was, "Well, that's not enough." So it's worth more than that to me. So we would have to see from current levels, we'd have to see a huge pump before selling becomes remotely attractive.
Yep. I have said if a region gets up to like 1 million, I may consider selling one region. I mean, we're lucky enough to say one region, just because we'll still have another one, which is insane. But I'm right there with you. I mean, I may just follow you. You're the numbers guy, so whatever you do, you're also the OG. So if your decision, I'm sure. I mean, you stuck with the game from the very beginning. So I mean, can't go wrong with that. Do want to just ask a quick question from like I'm Chris. He's asking, do you buy and hold SPS? If yes, would you talk about the percentage of your investment there?
Uh,
I,
go
real
ahead.
quick, I just want to say for that specific, I think that's definitely something that in your map stream, and that's something that you talk about more or less, just in terms of SPS and the future of it. So I do want to just first say to Chris, definitely check out most recent stream because I know you go into that a little bit more in depth. But I'll let you give your quick take on it right now too.
Yeah, so I have bought and sold SPS over the last year or so. At different times. I played the launch pretty aggressively. I bought a bunch, rode the wave up, sold some. When price initially came back down, I bought more, and the airdrop I've pretty much just been compounding, either by staking or by um, or by going into liquidity pools. Um, so I haven't put any fresh capital in for probably a couple months now, but I'm definitely bullish on SBS given that the inflation is dropping rapidly here now that the private sale investors are
Hmm.
paid off and the airdrop is ending. And then around the corner we have nodes and we have Rift Watchers and all this kind of stuff that's going to
Yep.
suck up a lot of supply. So I am bullish on SBS. As far as my own holdings, I have round about 2 million SBS. Um, so, if we get a nice pump to back up to $1 or $2, that'd be a nice little payday for me.
Yeah, absolutely. On my side, I actually have not bought any SPS. I just accumulate all from my airdrops, which having as much land, that's kind of what's giving me as much SPS as I have. But I will say, I think I've only sold like a week's worth of SPS, week's worth of airdrops of SPS. Everything else I've staked. Because yeah, I'm with you. I just the whole staking, the vouchers in general. I mean, it's just free rewards, and it's kind of insane because you're getting an airdrop. Which, again, at the time of buying all the assets that we did, there's no such thing as like an airdrop. That
Yeah,
wasn't even like I didn't even know that when I bought all my land. And then they released SPS, and it was like, all right, we're gonna get back to all our asset holders for a whole year and doing this airdrop. So now that's again just free rewards. So I see the vision, and I've staked everything. Um, Between my two accounts, I do have like a gold foil account, and it's a little easier to manage by splitting it up between regular foils, gold foils. So I got 150,000 SPS staked on the gold foil one, just so I can enter in the big tournaments there. And I'm around like 900,000 on my main, so not as much as Neil. But
big
again,
chunk.
it is. I mean, I got over that 1 mil milestone a couple weeks ago, and it's crazy to even understand that that's I'm even there right now. So, and again, I think we're still pretty low in price. Again, not as good as numbers, and can't talk about it in depth too much. But I mean, right now, just in simple terms, it's just not smart to sell. If you actually believe in Splinterlands and the vision and everything, I mean, yeah, we're nowhere near what. It's just like land. It's just going to go up.
Yeah. Well, I will say that not specific to Splinterlands, but anytime you have a project that has an airdrop, especially one that's an airdrop over time, a lot of the people who receive it are not, you know, really long-term supporters of the project.
Hmm.
So, and they're just going to sell, and that's
Yep.
fine. I've gotten airdrops from other things, and I've sold those because I wasn't a long-term uh, involved kind of person for that. Um, so, if assuming that whatever project you're talking about survives that whole process, and I think Splinterlands obviously is going to, then everything changes once those people who were getting free money from the sky aren't. So just keep that kind of thing in mind when we see over the next 2 months that the airdrop is ending, and then we're going over to there's still going to be SPS being produced, but it's going to be, player staking, it's going to be nodes, it's going to be all these other things that are more directly tied to people playing the game rather than just, having this thing in their account and more stuff shows up.
Yep. Yeah, and I always forget too. There's going to be SPS rewards just for land as well. Don't know how that's going to be kind of integrated, but that's just something to think of. If again, all landholders, I mean, it's just kind of constant rewards. So it'll be interesting to see how they make that work. Um, do want to quickly transition to another question from Virus. Are you going to keep any unexposed plots similar to how someone would keep a pack? Just before you answer that too, I guess, what's your strategy on opening? Do you plan on kind of opening all yours together? Or do you want to try to mix and match, maybe cover certain or like more a Pretoria or what?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know specifically, but my gut feeling is I will try to open everything together just to get everything, uh, centralized.
Sure.
Um, and then for unopened, with packs, I keep at least one of every type of pack from alpha on forward into as unopened, and those will never be opened, and that's just for my own OCD, purposes. So maybe I'll keep one plot unrevealed, but otherwise, I'm way too excited to see what's under wraps. Because that one you leave, that could be the legendary, or whatever the equivalent of gold foil legendary is for land, and it's probably not, but nice to nice to have that dream.
Yeah. What if you got one land plot unexposed? No one else has any unexposed land. And there's only 149 castles.
Oh, then it's opening 100%.
That yeah, I think that's kind of like the more interesting parts because there are a defined amount of keeps and castles, and I don't know. I'm curious. Like, if you open them as soon as possible, do you have a better chance at kind of uh, getting lucky and getting one of those? Whereas you wait and maybe they're all taken.
Well, it's the
Um,
old Monty Hall problem. It's a classic puzzle in statistics.
mhm.
I tend to think that, well, it's hard to say because the way Splinterlands cards are generated is based on random blockchain data. So I think that given that randomness, it kind of mutes the benefit of waiting. But I still think there'll be some. Um, and then because like in a tract, there's 100 plots, and one of them is a keep and or castle. So um, yeah, I'll have to do some thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I'm not sure if I'll keep any unexposed just because I don't know if I'll be able to live with what that plot potentially could be if I opened it.
Yeah.
um, but I understand. I mean, that's an awesome collection value, or like a collection goal too. I think that's awesome. But I'm with you too in terms of revealing. I think I'm gonna reveal all mine together. It just seems more awesome to like look at the map and just see like a big old chunk, and it's gonna be like Brybros, uh, huge multiple regions, just like Kingdom. I don't know how it's gonna be called, but I kind of like that. I do think it'll be interesting to potentially open them at different times in terms of maybe covering more Pretoria in different
Mhm.
locations and how that may affect, what type of resources or land types you get. But I don't know. There's just a lot of unknowns still. So saying this right now definitely may not be the same thing once we get those details. But it's interesting discussion nonetheless.
Yeah. Virus is saying that there's going to be people who forget or lose their accounts, and yeah, that's possible. Hopefully not.
I will note on that. I do think from the raffle that happened, there probably are a decent amount of like plots and totems that are kind of stuck on an account that just doesn't play anymore.
Hmm.
Because I was on a totem hunt like last year, and I remember trying to look at to see who all got them and who may potentially be selling them. And I have a feeling that just I don't know. Some of those people may have lost touch with Splinterlands, and you have a. I'm not going to say a lot, but I mean every burned plot or forgotten plot that counts. You're not going to really know those numbers, but it's definitely going to be out there. I feel bad for whoever
Yeah.
whoever does that.
Yeah, just somewhat related. I am a huge proponent of everybody having a crypto will, for your loved ones. Let them know how to do stuff because nobody who's not in crypto is going to understand anything.
Hmm.
Uh, like, I'm fortunate enough to be, tight enough with aggro that on mine for my Splinterland stuff, it literally just says call aggro. If anything happens to me, it'll help, sell off assets or whatever.
That's awesome.
But have some kind of plan in place.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't even thought about that myself. So, would hate to just see all that go to waste. I mean, that's got to live, at least carry on the name, just virtually through Splinterland. So, good point.
Yep.
All right, Neil. I'm terrible at keeping track of time. Again, I always thought
Yep,
these would just be like an hour, but again, the unexpected visit from Matt can never say no to that. I
absolutely.
just discussing with you, I think is awesome. Hopefully, again, for everyone, I do plan on having a bunch of different people on in future streams. This will not be the last time you hear from Neil either, as long as he agrees to come on again.
Sure.
Because I think it'll be very interesting to look back in like 2 months, 3 months, and listen to this conversation and how that differs from at that time when we have maybe the same questions. Because a lot is going to change by then. So I don't know. That was my biggest issue of like when I wanted to start the stream. I wasn't sure if there'd be enough content currently since we're still in that lull phase. But I don't know. I think people love hearing from others, and that's just the whole point. A lot of speculation right now, but putting speculation to names, and especially as big as like Neil, it's exciting. It's cool to look forward to. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Any closing remarks before we just do the last hoorah?
I think kind of echoing what Matt was saying earlier, things are in a lull right now. The entire crypto market's kind of a mess at the moment. Uh, Bitcoin's down 10% over the last 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's been rough. Um, but the people who have been in crypto for a long time, like 4 or 5 years, like myself, which is now considered a long time. These things come and go, and when the tide turns, you'll want to be already positioned. So these are the times to accumulate if you want to be a part of Splinterlands or whatever other projects you might be interested in. So just keep that in mind. There are cycles, and play accordingly.
Yeah, no, I'll just quick touch up. I mean, if you've been around, you should kind of understand the vision that Matt and Aggie have, and they're not looking to just just get money from their users. I mean, they're building something that not only they enjoy, like a game that they always would like to play, but they're building in a way that they want all us users and players to reap from. Because their whole motto is, if we're making money and having fun, then they're going to be doing the exact same thing. So I'm not too concerned. Again, I think right now is a good opportunity to get in if you haven't already, or just to keep accumulating. I mean, I'm always going to say that even if prices get up to $1,000 per plot, it's just the way it is. So, Neil, I appreciate you coming on.
Yep.
I appreciate
Anytime.
taking the time to do this, and I hope everyone kind of, uh, learn some different perspectives, and especially when Matt was on too, just hearing his side of things because I don't think we've really had any kind of direct feedback from him on land specifically. He's kind of been engulfed in everything else that's going on. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I will be posting this on YouTube. So if you missed it, feel free to check out the channel for the recording. And yeah, thanks again. I'll try to get another one going next week. So stay tuned. So thanks. Have a great day, everyone.
All right.
Thank you, Neil.
Have a good one.